Good.
Oh, I got it.
It's working, Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Thank you everyone for your patience while we are working through some technical difficulties. Again, guys, calling the meeting to order. Thank you. As you can see, we do have 2 board members online. Okay, great. So do I have any changes to the agenda? No. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you. Fred and Virginia second. Anyone objecting? Okay, great. Do I have any changes to the minutes?
Move to approve minutes.
Motion to approve. Oh, Barbara, Tracy, any changes to the minutes? No. All right. I have a motion from Kevin to approve. Do I have a second? Thank you, Chris. Any objections to approving the minutes? Awesome, thank you. Okay, I will roll right into reps reports and I'll start with Annie. Yeah. So there's no mic, so don't grab at it.
So hi everyone, probably was here last month, but we have a busy weeks ahead. City Council. This week we have the budget review committee meetings every day at 9 and at 2. Each departmental branch is giving their report of the budget to City Council. And the last meeting will be on Friday at 2 p.m. And then from this point, after hearing from each department and their whole budget and the whole report, and council members asking questions and hearing from the community, the mayor will release his May revise on May 13th. So that would be next Wednesday. After that, the council members will then submit their final budget modification memo on May 20th. After that, the final day for the final vote will be June 9th. I suspect that there will be lots of changes happening from this point on. So yeah, busy week. The second thing I wanted to share with you guys is the point in time data was released from January. And unsheltered homelessness is down once again this year, second year in a row, by 6.6%. Unsheltered youth homelessness decreased by 42%, and unsheltered family homelessness decreased by 3%. And then the third thing I wanted to share is that the resolution of the Councilmember Campbell championed in support of AB 2525, which is the surplus land in Mission Bay Park bill that we all know about, the whole debacle, passed the City Council unanimously last month, and it also passed the Assembly's Local Government Committee. And so now it's going to the Assembly's Housing and Community Development Committee. So I'll keep you guys posted on where that bill goes in the state legislature. Those are my 3 things. Of course, I'm here for anything that I talked about or didn't talk about for any questions.
Right.
Yes, could you clarify when public comment is allowed?
Every day, 2 p.m. and 9 a.m. Every
So
single
2 to 9, Monday.
You can call in.
Yeah, you can call in, you can come in person, and it's after each department, I believe, you get public comments. Okay.
Well, if you don't come in person, you can get it online.
Yes, you can go online as well, but it's for every department, every day, 9 a.m. Yeah, great. Yeah.
When you talk about the homeless numbers, are you talking about District 2, or are you talking about
City at large.
San Diego and Washington? Our numbers are not down that.
I have to verify it, so just.
Do I have any other public questions for our D2 rep? Any board questions or things like the back to our city council? Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said? I missed it. I'm kidding.
I'll send it to Andrea.
Yeah. Do I don't have anyone else from anywhere? No. Okay. I'm gonna go to Moana online. If you can unmute yourself, Moana. This is our state senator Akilah Weber's rep.
Hello, everybody. It's Moana here with Senator Akilah Weber Pearson. Happy May. And for those that like Star Wars, yesterday was May the 4th be with you. So I hope you enjoyed that. A couple of May observances. May happens to be Asian American Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Not saying that because I'm Hawaiian, I'm just sharing that bit of news with you. It just happens that way. May is also Lupus Awareness Month, as well as Small Business Success Month and Older Americans Month. You all get your own month. In the state legislature, May is a very busy month for us. It's the May Revise. Sometime within the next couple of days or even a week, the governor will release his updated state budget proposal, which will shape the fiscal discussions for the remainder of the session. The May 1st was the very last day for any policy committees to hear and report any non-fiscal bills on the floor. May 8th, which is 3 days from now, is the last day for policy committees to meet in their entirety. And then May 29th is the last day for each house to pass bills introduced in that house. So lots of things happening in the month of May. Additionally, in the month of May, our office is hosting a lupus awareness virtual symposium. I will share that information with Andrea, but that is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, May 20th from 5:30 to 6:30, where you can hear experts talk about lupus awareness and kind of bridge the gap between science, policy, and patient advocacy. Our office is also looking for your help in identifying honorees for AANHPI month. It could be a community leader as well as a small business owner. So please check out our website and submit your nominations for an honoree.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for our state senator? State senator's office, you're not yet. Okay, thank you, Anna. And
Thank
just
you
one
guys.
fact that no one else is here. Okay, Randy from the mayor's office did email me that he won't be here, but the big update is just the budget hearings and the budget in general. Like Manny said, call in each week, check the schedule of who's going to be on and make sure to submit your comments about what you want to cut or what you don't want to cut. All right, non-agenda public comment. Frank, you can start with the first 2 minutes. Do I have anyone else seeking to make non-agenda public comment? Okay, great. I'll go,
I have to use this?
Frank, you can use whatever you want, Frank, and then, once you start talking, I'll start your 2 minutes.
Oh, no. If I don't talk.
Well, you're talking now, so.
What if I sing?
You're wasting your time.
Okay, I'm Frank Gormley, editor, publisher of the Obi Track. And I'm here tonight because I have a better May 4th reference than she did. And I don't even have her hair. What was going on with her hair, by the way? So, May 4th, 1976, 50 years ago, yesterday, there was the first public election to the OB Planning Board. Okay? And it was a big campaign, big story, and it's all in the OB Right. I was a participant. 46 ballots for, no, 4,600 ballots were cast. How many people voted in this last election? 40?
Slightly less.
Okay, yeah, or the Point Loma Peninsula Planning Board. They have maybe 100. 4,600 ballots were cast. It was a huge thing. It went all day. Mark, there was voting places all over the county, all over the district. I mean, Ocean Beach, and the League of Women Voters monitored it, and the registrar of voters ran it. And what had happened is that this was the first election of a democratically selected planning board in the history of San Diego. Not just Ocean Beach, history of San Diego. Now there's 41 community planning boards around the city. 50 years ago, there wasn't any. And it was like pulling teeth. Sorry for the dentist. But they get the city to agree to this, and it was like back and forth. It took a couple of years. But we want you, the planning board, to join the right, other community groups, in having a celebration later this month. So if you guys, since it's an individual thing, there's no policy involved, maybe a speech or two from you guys. But if you could nominate or informally nominate a person to be the contact for me. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Need more information, go to the rack.
I will start your 2 minutes when you start talking. And then we have someone new doing the minutes, so just first and last name.
Hi, my name is Keith Fink. I am a newly appointed member of the board of the Ocean Beach Community Development Corporation. And I'm here to ask you to ask us for money. We have funds that we want to invest in this community. Since I am so new, it's still damn between the years. I'm just gonna read you something from the website. We're a community grants program. Designed to provide funding for vital improvement projects for the Ocean Beach area. This program places special emphasis on capital improvements, although we do small ones. I think this AV equipment is one of our grants. This program places special on capital improvements to enhance the community's infrastructure, aesthetics, and overall well-being. We invite all interested parties, that's groups or individuals, to apply. There's an online form on the OBCDC's website. We aim to support projects that align with the community's vision and that have potential to create a lasting positive impact. The OBCDC Community Grants Program represents our organization's commitment to fostering a vibrant and sustainable Ocean Beach through empowering local shareholders to take an active role in shaping their community. We encourage you to think big. There's money there. We can also partner with other organizations to come up with the funding. Some of this may take time. There's some large projects we're working on now. Again, you can see the projects we're working on now on the website. Please think big, go to the website, apply for the grants. Also as an aside, as a ray of hope, I ran into Scott Peters about 10 days ago and pressed him about funding for our pier. He said there was no such pocket of money for that, but he was working on a bill. And sure enough, 2 days later, 1 week ago yesterday, Congressman Garcia from Long Beach introduced a bill specifically to fund piers. It is HR 8508, the Piers Reinvestment Act, and Peters co-sponsored it.
Thank you. Okay, and then, sir, in the registrar, you can hop in. If you could just state your first and last name for our minutes taker.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm Leon Scales.
hi, Leon.
I am with the Sunset Cliffs National Park Council
Awesome.
and the Friends of Sunset Cliffs. And I'm here really to invite everyone to a meeting that will occur next Tuesday in the community room of the Point Loma Hurry Library to discuss the seawall project. And I think it's important you attend because I don't think most people are aware that the city is planning to put in a very large seawall at the foot of Adair, just a block from Point Loma Avenue, to replace a seawall which collapsed about 30 years ago. That seawall collapsed for reasons, of course, having to do with the terrain and the geology and so forth. And it's possible the new seawall will have the same fate. The seawall was announced as being about an $8 million project 3 years ago when it was first added to the budget, but that was just days before the budget was formally announced, and so it didn't come out for another 90 days. That project has gone from $8 million to $23 million in 3 years. So think about this, where's $23 million coming from? These are transportation funds. You can probably think of other projects in San Diego that could use transportation funds. This is a $23 million project for about 1 block of seawall on a boulevard that really doesn't go anyplace except to people's homes. So I'm not taking a position on this right now, but I would like you to come to the meeting. It's not a public meeting in the sense that people can make comments, disagree with the city on this. It's informational only. And there will be no public meetings on this. Fortunately, we'll still have to go before CEQA and the Coastal Commission, but it is considered to be, at this point, by the city, a ministerial approval process. So it is going to get done unless there is some significant opposition to it.
What time is the meeting?
5 o'clock, an early meeting, 5 to 6:30, yes. They're scheduled and people don't really go to meetings.
Thank you.
I think they're.
Leon, isn't it 30 million?
Well, it's the interesting contract says that it's an $7.82 million project.
Yes.
3 years ago,
Yes.
and that there may be additions going forward, but the additions do not need to be explained, they can be kept confidential. So we don't know what the amount of the additions will be, but it's gonna be a lot more than it was originally announced to be.
Thank you,
Like
Leon.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And again, next Tuesday.
that's it.
5 p.m. for
But yeah, and
feedback.
I've got some flyers here, these are city flyers, not mine, about the project, so. let me-
Yes, you leave them, you leave here.
Okay, good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Two pieces.
Sounds good. Oh wait, do I have anyone else seeking to make a non-agenda public comment? Anyone online? Kevin? No. Alright, can I get all my candidates up here? I'm gonna have to draw. He's for order. Okay.
Excited.
That's fake, is that real?
Walker's back.
I'm close to saying it over you. Okay, so this is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna give each candidate 15 minutes. The first 2 minutes are yours for, introductory remarks, then we'll roll into questions and you can get through as many questions as you want once your 15 minutes is up. It's over. We have pre-submitted questions from the board and the community. We're gonna roll through those first. If I have time, I can take one from one of you out here. If I do call on you to answer a question, it needs to be a 10-second long question. I'm not messing around with you. I will cut you off. It's questions, it's not your diatribe. Okay, thank you. And then I also asked the candidates, this isn't a debate, so please refrain from attacking another candidate directly because I will not letting them respond, and that feels unfair.
For camera, you want us like in this area?
Yeah.
What is your outfit? Okay, better.
So I will start 2 minutes now.
Thank you. Good
Yeah.
evening, everyone. I'm Nicole Crosby. I'm a California native, a Claremont resident, a proud mom, and a deputy city attorney at the San Diego City Attorney's Office. I'm running for city council because I want my daughter and all of her friends to live in safe neighborhoods. And I want to make sure that we have a safe environment to match. I also want to make sure that we have safe and reliable and, good quality city services for residents who live here in San Diego. So I'm very active in the community. I'm the immediate past president of the Claremont Town Council, and I'm the current PTA president of my daughter's elementary school. During the day, I'm a deputy city attorney. I protect elders from bad landlords and abuse. I prosecute hate crimes, gun crimes, and domestic violence. And I think that it's really important that we need to make sure that our communities are safe. And I started one of the first gun violence restraining order programs in the state of California. So in OB specific, there's been a lot of neglect here. And it was really great that Keith brought that up because the OB here is very important, not just for small businesses, but it's an icon for San Diego. And the money can be had, like line items and bills, and those are quote grants. Working with our state and federal government to have gotten those funds sooner, to have started that project sooner is paramount to homelessness. I know that I've talked to a variety of providers that there were encampment sweeps prior to the point in time count. So there is a lot of suspicion regarding one, the veracity of those numbers, and two, the fact that it's true. People have been pushed out of downtown for organization and business interests into our local communities. And the hard part here is you have people like Butterfly, people that we get to see every single day decompensating on the street. And I created a program where I'm working with our police and our fire department to actually get real services to hard to access individuals. And that's gonna save us money, make our community safer, and make individuals safer so they are not dying on the streets alone. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. 15 minutes, rotation, but I'm ready for the action.
Right. So you. All right, so first question, since we have a strong mayor format, what do you see as the city council person's important role?
Yeah, so with a strong mayor form of government, there needs to be people on city council who get along. There were problems with a strong mayor that led to budget impacts, and there are problems that we have now, and at the end of the day, everybody, whether you get along or don't get along, you need to be values-based. We need to make sure that we are looking at what's bringing San Diego forward, what's in the best interest of everyone. Whether that's our district or even, people are gonna know that it's a reality. There's horse trading that happens in the world, and we all need to work together to make sure that what's best for the community members is what actually is being pushed forward. And if you have 6 out of the 9 council members who are able to agree, you are able to do a lot more on council.
What do you consider to be the biggest budget priority for Ocean Beach?
Well, I would say the pier and then homelessness and then streets, which is infrastructure. And I've mentioned this before, and I've even said this to the mayor. And I said, look, we need to be going after grants. And then there was pushback saying, oh, those are only one-time funds. And I think, well, these are one-time funds that we don't have. that give us time to look to the future and make sure that we are working on maintenance projects, right? We know that if we're building the OB pier, we shouldn't be building it again next year, right? Like, we need to be smart about how we are working with our state officials and the other people who have grants, and also lobbying our federal, Congress people, because there are real monies out there. And at the end of the day, like, the OB pier is budget dust when you're thinking about the amount of money that's being spent on a variety of things across the world right now.
Thanks. What changes would you like to see to the short-term vacation rental ordinance?
The short-term vacation rental ordinance, maybe we look at either a full home ban, or maybe we look at a minimum, because what has happened is we have gutted our communities. Funding away from our schools, it takes funding away from the community, it drops our census numbers, and it decimates our voting power. So those are just three of the things that are removed from us. But what does it cost? It costs us the feeling of community instability. It costs us more impact of police and fire response very frequently, and it costs people who live here their quiet enjoyment of their neighborhood. So we need to push outside interest, and we need to make this a home for people and seniors and working families and children who can live here and go to our schools.
How would you help create a better working relationship between DSD, planning, and the CPGs?
Oh, this is great. So communication is number one. So yes, the mayor is in charge of all of those departments, but I think that as someone who has worked with DSD and planning in different groups, you need to know what's happening and ensuring that there is communication across. I think that there needs to be sort of like a task force to make sure that there's an gate-kept information. So on a regular basis, I work with the planning group, and I work with code enforcement. There's a lot of talk about having code enforcement come and do enforcement, but they also did a reduction in force. So I wager to say that there won't necessarily be the enforcement that people might be expecting, which is a concern. So one, it's communication. Two, you have informational items that you bring to council, then you can ask questions, which will result in answers that are transparency, and then it will call for changes in how information is being shared and what work is being done.
What are your priorities in addressing the homelessness crisis?
Yes, priorities in homelessness crisis. Oh, many layers. First, working with our housing commission to expand how we use our city property, right? So we have city property and we collect buckets of vouchers. And then we say, oh, sorry, we're done. We have no more space in, and that's not how we can operate. What we need to do is make sure that we have our own internal system where people who are in affordable living environments can continue to grow and make money and not be cut off cold turkey. Because when you cut people off cold turkey, then it is the poverty trap, right? And then of course, there's not going to be any growth or any hope for improvement. Another thing is, like I said, working with the county as being someone who is deeply entrenched in the program that I created for the police and fire department to get those high utilizers emergency services access to real care. Like, this isn't about ego. Whoever wants to carry the gold shiny star, please take it. Because what's most important is that people actually get the service. And I think with the new board of supervisors and the support I have from them, the change to the behavioral health, that we can push through that. And then the middle thing is really looking at our city property. I use Montgomery Field as one of the examples. It's almost, we think about Midway, it's 42 acres. We think about Montgomery Field, it's almost 500 acres of flat space in the middle of the city. It's an enterprise fund. We don't make real money off of that. If we were consolidating our airport services to Brownfield, provide better regional access to travel at the South Bay, also a more robust bi-national corridor, we can then start planning for housing purchase opportunities on a portion of that. We can have more city parks, we can have more housing, and then it gives us time to catch up in the neighborhoods where the infrastructure is not here to support the density in a lot of the different places. So we need to be very thoughtful and smart about that, and it's a multi-layered approach that way.
On the density question, as you know, SB9 increases density around transit stops. What transit routes would you prioritize funding?
Well, I think that we need to look at an actual real-time map, right? And where the density is going. Because for example, using the Claremont plan. So the Claremont plan was in the works for over 10 years because people were too scared to make it go forward. And listening to our planning group is super important. And our planning group, work with the planning department, work with the city town council, work with the community and make sure that people knew what was going on. So when we're looking at doing densification in the mixed use areas like Balboa and Genesee, or the Claremont Town Square, it's making sure that these main corridors have higher transportation to the trolley. Because right now, for me, for example, to get from my house to the trolley, it's like I have to walk 1 mile in any direction to a bus stop. And then I have to catch a bus to get down to the trolley, and then maybe I can get to the trolley, and that's just like not something you can ask of regular everyday working people and seniors who are trying to get from here and there, so. It would be a community conversation, I think input from all planning groups, we are mapping out the priorities citywide. And also taking into consideration, like, we need to be able to get to the airport, like, there's a lot of basic things, but if we're doing densification, picking the high artery routes.
How do you feel about the Penny for the Arts program?
I don't think we should be cutting our arts. It's actually kind of concerning because if we're looking at grants that have been given, if worst case scenario was that we had to cut something. It's actually looking at what is being given out and how it's given out, because there are some organizations that get grants, don't pay rent on their properties, and they sell tickets, so they have a good revenue stream, right? But at the same time, they don't actually give anything back to the community, so maybe there should just be a cap as opposed to a maximum, because we wanna make sure that we are funding, you know, arts and progress for the masses, and not just for a few, you know, larger entities.
What other changes would you make to the mayor's proposed budget?
Oh, goodness gracious, purchasing and contracting, so here's the thing, the budget has lots of pluses and minuses. What isn't being done is looking at the details behind the pluses and minuses. Because when we're looking at the contracts that were done, what is the return on investment on those contracts? How long is the infrastructure that is put in place in a certain contract actually lasting? What are the change orders? Like, we need to make sure that the people we are doing business with are actually good actors and do a good rate of return for the community. Also looking at our civil penalties and the types of funds that are owed to the city. You know, it is not well known, but there are things that people owe the city. So we need to collect them, because that's millions of dollars. And when we have, you know, leases, like, so those budgets, revenue from leases are under market value by an astronomical number. It's like, we have to look and do the dirty work inside the minutia of that, and that's gonna help a lot.
Did I see a hand out there? I do have time for one question before Frank.
I'm sorry, what was the number of questions?
You can ask one question.
Really?
I'm a lucky one.
Okay, at the Liberty Station forum, you said you were a big supporter of Midway Rising.
Yeah,
Now, you just said you support good quality services for the community.
Yeah.
But Midway Rising is not gonna be providing any infrastructure. So how do you rationalize, or how you balance those two impulses?
as a council member, I would expect that to be baked into the plan. It's like when we're looking at any bigger development, like CEQA should already have been done, right? You need to do your homework before you actually have something go to vote. Because then otherwise, we're gonna end up back where we started, and that sort of like doesn't help anyone, because then 20 years later, sports arenas don't look exactly like it does now, and that's not what we want, so I do. Midway Rising, and it as a development is great. Is the transportation aspect of it good? No, it is not, and I've always been consistent about that. Sometimes you just have a little bit of time to answer questions, you have to jam as much as you can, but that has been consistent across the board, in my belief, but lack of transportation there.
What community service that you've done in D2 has made you the most proud?
I think my work at the Claremont Town Council, I mean, it's hard, the PTA could be good, but the Claremont Town Council is really making sure that people show up. People get to hear what's going on, people have access to civic engagement, what's going on at City Hall in a really easy way, because. Looking at the website hard, sometimes going to city council is hard, dealing with like the layers of the agenda and stuff is hard, but people want it to be fun and they want it to be social, and things like that bring the community back home. And I think that my work over the years, the Claremont Town Council has brought just that, and I'm very proud of it.
And our final softball question, what is your favorite part of District 2?
Careful.
No, I'm gonna say Mission Bay, I'm gonna say Mission Bay, because it's my go-to for everything. I will run there, I will go do things in the area, you can go to the parks, I like when I run, I can see all like the regulars, all the older seniors who are there walking. You know, and they hustle you, and it's like a good excuse to like stop to have like a run break. You know, I've run every single nook and cranny of it, so I think that that's a real good opportunity to see the jewel that it is, but also a lot of the problems that we have, whether it be bathrooms or homeless and, you know, the community that we wanna have. So it's like everything in one that we're gonna polish up when I'm a city council member. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You're up next. I'll start your first 2 minutes when you start talking.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, hosting this forum, to give us a chance to discuss future of Ocean Beach and the future of the city of San Diego. Unfortunately, right now, the future of San Diego, it's in doubt. And it's in doubt because the city's facing a $100+ million budget deficit. It's in doubt because the parking fees and trash fees are increasing the cost of living for everyday San Diegans. It's in doubt because of the condition of our roads, which are filled with potholes, the state of our parks, which are unclean. It's not safe for families to enjoy. And it's also in doubt because of the multifamily developments that are being built in single family neighborhoods without any parking whatsoever. So the fact of the matter is the city of San Diego is on a financially unsustainable path and making San Diego a less desirable place to call home along the way. I previously had the honor of representing Coronado as the city's 53rd mayor, so I know what good governance looks like. When you drive across the bridge, you notice the difference in Coronado's roads, parks, and just overall cleanliness of the downtown business environment. But I also worked as a financial analyst for a Fortune 500 company. I also own 2 businesses that operate within the district, so I know what balancing a budget and making hiring and firing decisions actually look like. And I previously worked as an adjunct professor where I taught economics at the University of San Diego. And based on this experience in both the public sector and the private sector, I'm convinced that the challenges facing City Hall are due to irresponsible spending and management decisions. I care about the future of San Diego. And I'm absolutely convinced that if we want to turn the city around, we have to elect a council member that is willing to stand up to City Hall, that's willing to hold City Hall accountable with better policies, with better leadership, not to represent this special interest class. They have plenty of representation as it is right now, but to represent everyday San Diegans, so that we can actually reclaim the title of America's finest city once again. So I'll go ahead and pause right there and have an answer your questions. Let's do it.
Sure. Okay, first one is how do you see the role of a city council member in a strong mayor and form of government?
Yeah, I want to answer this in 2 parts. So as it currently stands right now, the role of the city council is to set policies, establish a budget for the mayor to follow. However, I think most of us in this room can probably agree that the current leadership at City Hall is not conducting the day-to-day operations as we would expect, up to the standards we would expect as residents. Why is that? It's because the strong mayor form of government allows someone that has exactly 0 executive experience managing anything other than a 6-person office to run a city that's over $2 billion in a general fund with over 8,000 employees. Every other city in the county does not use a strong mayor form of government. They rely on a city manager form of government. And that's because running the day-to-day operations of a major municipal corporation requires actual executive experience. That's that individuals go to school for, that they work up the corporate ladder for, to actually understand how to conduct the day-to-day operations of a city. There are professional public administrators that would do a much better job serving the everyday needs of San Diego residents than the current leadership. So just to go on the record, I think we should go back to a city manager form of government here in San Diego as well.
Okay, what would you change about the mayor's current proposed budget?
Yeah, so when you look at the budget right now, the big question is, does the city of San Diego suffer from a revenue problem or a spending problem? So let's look at some of the data points here. From 2014 through 2025, San Diego's population increased by just 1%. But over that same time period, city staffing increased by 27%. Middle managers increased by 461% over that same time period. So population is flat, but staffing is increasing very significantly. When you match that with the fact that last fiscal year, the city of San Diego brought in an all-time high record amount of tax revenue. So if you consider that we have an all-time high record amount of tax revenue and an all-time high record amount of city staffing, the question we should be asking ourselves is, what are we as taxpayers getting in return for that? And when you look at the key performance metrics, department by department by department, in nearly every single department, for nearly every single metric, performance is orders of magnitude worse today than it was 10 years ago. So does San Diego have a revenue problem? No, it has a spending and management problem. That's borne out in the data and it's borne out in the performance within each department. So the biggest change we need to make right now as a city, considering we're facing this $100+ million structural deficit, is at the very least, we need to go back to 2015 staffing levels. We've added nearly 2,000 employees over those 10 years, and the mayor's proposed budget, I think they're estimating cutting roughly 100, but not all those are even filled positions. If we go back to 2015 staffing levels, that immediately takes us from an operating deficit of $100 million, puts us into an operating surplus of $100 million. It also bends our annual pension obligations by about another $100 million. Now we're in a $200 million operating surplus versus an operating deficit. So those are some of the biggest changes I would make there.
And what do you consider the biggest budget priority for Ocean Beach?
I would say the Ocean Beach Pier, for sure. It was referenced earlier that there is a bill has been proposed to provide funding for piers throughout the nation. I think it's really important just for everyone in this room and everyone watching at home to understand that within that, it's very easy to propose legislation. Members of Congress propose legislation all the time. It's very, very difficult to get legislation passed. But when you consider the best case scenario, within that bill, the bill only calls for appropriations of $500 million. Okay, $500 million. That would apply to every single pier in the nation. There are 38 piers, roughly the size of Ocean Beach's pier, just up and down California's own coastline. So even if that bill were to pass, it's highly unlikely that without significant contributions from the city, that the Ocean Beach Pier is ever going to be reopened or rebuilt. And I think this speaks to a broader problem with the city of San Diego, and that's how they budget and plan for future capital projects. The best practice when you actually, as a city, build a new public facility is to estimate that public facility's useful life, and then you go ahead and start budgeting for the eventual replacement of that facility. The Ocean Beach Pier was built 65 years ago. The amount of funds set aside by the city of San Diego to replace the pier is exactly $0. That is financially irresponsible. But that's just not the case for the Ocean Beach Pier. It's also the case for many other public facilities. I haven't checked individually for this particular facility, but I bet we could all, if I was a betting person, I would bet there's also $0 to replace this facility.
What changes would you like to see to the short-term vacation rental ordinance?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things you have to consider. Right now, the short-term vacation rental ordinance, the way it is written, it applies a 1% cap on short-term vacation rentals across the entire city, with the exception of Mission Beach, which has, of course, a 30% cap there. The problem with that approach is that the entirety of that 1% allocation has not been exhausted, right? It's not 1% for communities, 1% citywide. Well, it's much more desirable to have a short-term vacation rental in Ocean Beach than it is, say, up in Carmel Valley. And so because of that, you end up having a disproportionate number of short-term vacation rentals in certain pockets of the city, where towns like Ocean Beach, unfortunately, bear a greater size of burden. If there was an appetite on the city council for making changes, one of my proposals would be, if Ocean Beach is going to bear an outsized portion of the burden for short-term vacation rentals, then the tax revenue generated from those should go back into the community. Where should it most likely go? It should go back into reinvesting in the Ocean Beach Pier. It is possible to have dedicated streams of revenue that you can bond against and actually go ahead and rebuild larger facilities. So that'd be one proposal I think would be worth looking into.
Based on the implications of SB 79, what public transportation projects would you like to pursue or prioritize?
Well, I think this opens up to a bigger question, actually. So the city of San Diego, of course, does not establish transit lines. That is done by MTS. One of the challenges with what's happening in Sacramento right now is that historically, local planning decisions used to be made at the local level by people that actually understood the communities. But what we've seen happen really since 2019 is the state of California has come in and they said, you know what, we're going to establish one-size-fits-all zoning policies for the entire state of California. And that just doesn't work out. So they establish these one-size-fits-all zoning policies, oftentimes based on transit. One of the challenges with that approach, and also with the approach of San Diego, is that many of these transit lines that allow for these larger development projects to be built are based on quote-unquote planned transit lines, often which times have zero funding attached to them, which then allows larger density projects to be built without any real path to provide the transportation services that are needed. So rather than focus on new transit lines, I would say we need to focus on the existing ones. We also, though, need to go and reform complete communities to make sure that certain areas aren't being taken advantage of by new projects that are based on essentially phantom transit lines.
Great, and what would be your priorities in addressing the homelessness crisis?
First and foremost, we have to acknowledge that our approach to homelessness has not been working. It has not been working. Yes, there are some minor decreases in the numbers, but they are significantly higher than they were 10 years ago, despite all of the staffing and despite all of the spending. And the number one reason for this comes down to one word: accountability. There has been next to zero accountability for how the city, county, and state government actually spends its homeless money. And there's actually very little accountability for the individuals that are living on the streets today, many of which are living in violation of existing laws. Now, if we take a step back and we look at the issue of homelessness nationwide, there's a few really important statistics to point out. From 2014 through 2023-ish, when you look at homelessness across the entire country, on a per capita basis, it actually decreased. In most states, homelessness was flat or decreasing, with 3 exceptions, one of them being the state of California, where homelessness increased by about 60%. So consider that. Everywhere else in the nation, homelessness is decreasing. Here in California, it's increasing by 60%. Why is that? It's because of our policies around it. So we need to do a better job actually enforcing, we need to do a better job enacting policies that recognize cities have a dual responsibility. Yes, we have a responsibility to connect those that want help with temporary assistance, emphasis on temporary. And we also have a responsibility to the general public to maintain clean and safe public spaces. We have that dual responsibility, and refusing help does not give you the right to then interfere with the other responsibility of clean and safe public spaces. So we need to get first and foremost back to a position of accountability for everyone.
And what would you do to help the relationship between DSD, planning department, and the CPGs?
You know, unfortunately, many of the previous authorities have kind of been, you've all kind of been neutered, right? Based on complete communities, there's less and less input that you actually have that occurs in a meaningful way. So I think we need to get back to reforming complete communities and give communities a bigger voice than what they currently have right now. If there's, Frank mentioned earlier, and that was something I was unfamiliar with, that previously there's 4,000 votes cast for this board, and now, would you say it was, Frank, 40?
But every community is different.
Right.
Is this count against my time?
Sorry. Why, Bob?
I'm just kidding. No, I think like Peninsula has maybe 200 people voting.
Right. But I
It's
think
not in the thousands anyway.
like it was, right? Well, I think so. The point of that is you're more likely, God bless you all for volunteering in these positions, because it's important to have this liaison between, City Hall and the community. But my bet is that more people would be more involved if the role was bigger than simply in an advisory capacity over stuff you don't have much of an influence of, whether or not you have a representative. And so I think we need to give more authority to these boards to increase participation, not just for yourselves, but also for the entire public.
And for the public's question, we had someone online
Sure.
ask how you felt about Measure A, or the vacant home tax.
Yeah, very much opposed to the vacant home tax. That's because I think it's a very disingenuous proposal, number one. And why do I say that? I say that because there's a very strong legal argument that it's unconstitutional to begin with. So there's a great chance this is going to go down in history as another example of the city of San Diego spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in an attempt to pass a new measure that is illegal and will most likely be struck down. So it'll end up probably costing the city more. But the other aspect is that think of the principle of this. The city of San Diego taxing people for inactivity, right? Not using their home. What's next? Would they actually consider taxing you if you have an empty backyard, not building an ADU? Well, why not? That's available space that you could go ahead and invest and put up an ADU and help solve the housing crisis. So I think the law is illegal out of principle. I don't oppose it. And once again, I get back to the city of San Diego does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending and management problem. So I'm against all new taxes and fees until the city does a better job managing its money it already has.
Great, 10 seconds to tell us what your favorite part of D2 is.
All right, my favorite part of D2, it's tied between the volleyball courts at Ocean Beach and the volleyball courts at South Mission. I play regularly over there, so if any of you guys are down for some 2-on-2 beach volleyball, count me in. All right, we'll do it. Good new part.
Josh?
Sorry, questions from the audience?
Yeah, I took the one online. It's not the same every time. He's out of time, Frank. He's out of time. Everyone's getting 15 minutes. I'm not going over for more than one can't like, if I give him extra time, I have to give everyone extra time. We're moving on to Josh. I made the rules very clear. Josh, your 2 minutes
Yeah,
start.
just
We
one
talk,
question.
talking.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Josh Coyne, proud to be here, candidate for San Diego City Council District 2. Proud son of a small business owner and grocery store clerk, had the opportunity to be the first in my family to graduate from college. Education is really what brought me here to San Diego. While here, working at the University of San Diego, I had the opportunity to not only fall in love with our city, but also fall in love with my now husband, John. We call Point Loma our home for the last 10 years. And I will get ahead and say that my favorite part of District 2 is Kellogg Beach. It's an excellent opportunity for us to get outside. It was certainly a great spot for us to have our little dog Lucy, a rescue dog during COVID, which has been written about. I'm very excited to share with you how excited we are to be in the neighborhood. What I want to talk to you about today is my passion not only to make sure that we don't sit on the sidelines when our city needs us most, but how it is that we can continue to show up for our future. In 2018, I had the opportunity to serve as a crisis counselor for LGBT youth for the Trevor Project. Really excited about the resources that I was able to ensure folks have all across the country. More importantly, I had the opportunity also to go to City Hall, where I had during some of our most challenging times, the city faced COVID specifically, working with families and business owners to ensure that they had the right information and resources to ensure that they were successful. More importantly now, though, I serve as chief of staff for the Downtown San Diego Partnership, where I am working consistently to address our street homelessness crisis. In 2022, the Downtown San Diego Partnership conducted an observational census. We found over 2,000 individuals sleeping on the streets of downtown. And what I would like to propose today, what I will offer to you is that no generation of leaders should go by the city council without addressing our street homelessness crisis. It's important that we continue to stop calling these things crises and continue to address them in ways that we can continue to serve and provide folks the resources, but end those crises. And I look forward to answering your questions about how it is that we can continue to do that.
Yes,
Thanks.
well, let's start with then, how do you intend to address the homelessness crisis?
So what I think we have to talk about when we throw data and conversations around the city of San Diego, especially the word accountability, the city of San Diego has stepped up as a city to address this particular crisis. Other cities across the region have not. And when we talk about the role that the city has played, we have to talk about the county and the role that our entire system can play to address this. What I want to talk about is greater system coordination and collaboration. When you walk out of here and someone is homeless and they're seeking resources, who are you going to call? We invented and created a 911 system just for that particular reason, because we know that we needed to address those particular moments of emergency, right, with those resources. We have to do the same with homelessness, and we have to treat the region consistently. The county has to step up to continue to address the big behavioral health crisis that we see on the streets of OB. The city cannot continue to resource that on its own. There should be accountability for those cities that do nothing.
Great, so how do you see the city council members' role in the strong mayor form of government?
So I had the opportunity to, as I mentioned, serve on the city council floor for 3 years, and I can share with you, while the budget is being created, I think that this not this council, but the council has an opportunity to be stronger in how it is that the budget is created. I think it's true that there is an opportunity to be more coordinated, but basically the way that the charter was voted in by us, the people, right, to ensure a strong mayor form of government was more accountable to us. This council doesn't have as much of a power that I believe it can. It should have the opportunity to ensure that contracts, they're involved in discussions, negotiations, ensure that council has the opportunity to make sure that when the mayor makes a decision, right, that they have the opportunity to either see all the information that is put before them, or in fact, repeal it or provide more additional guidance on those particular issues. Right now, we just don't see that. We're seeing last minute issues rush to the city council Friday afternoon for a Tuesday vote. This council has to be more involved in the decisions that are being made, and I believe that we can do that probably through charter amendments like you're seeing right now. I don't believe that switching the entire system though is the right move. It's actually going to be extremely costly for you to test the taxpayers.
What changes would you make to the current mayor's proposed budget?
Yeah, two things. We can't be cutting revenue generating programs, especially those that are investing in our future, like our young folks, our arts. I also think that what we have to talk about is how, to the homelessness question, how are we coordinating systematic change amongst each of the different departments? There's not just one homelessness department budget. Homelessness impacts a number of different departments: police, fire, parks and rec, libraries. You name it, there's an opportunity, I think, for us to talk about how we can greater coordinate resources amongst the homelessness department. I think there's an opportunity to in-house a lot of the positions that this administration has continued to outsource to nonprofits. I think that that money has an opportunity to return to perhaps supplement some of the conversations we're having about staffing shortages as well, Parks and Rec included.
What do you think are the biggest district or Ocean Beach priorities for this budget?
I think some of them have been mentioned. I shared this with the forum, that if the pier was in any other city in the state, I think there would have been a greater conversation and probably more funding, right, for it. I think that is certainly a topic that should continue to remain, but as someone who works in downtown and sees, frankly, vacant storefront businesses continue to struggle to survive, I think that we have to think about the small business loans, the SBEP funding. That I think is extremely important for some of our smaller businesses to frankly thrive, that create the fabric of our community. I think that's really important. So I would make sure that we're thinking more creatively about how it is that the homelessness department budget is executed across the city.
And because of SB9 or SB 79, yeah, what public transportation routes would you prioritize or funding?
I think
routes?
as talked about, we're the 8th largest city in the country, and the trolley is one of the most important, I think, thoroughfares that folks use that, frankly, is not as reliable or as trustworthy, I think, and safe as folks want it. And I think we have to talk about the Midway District that I have talked and been very supportive of redeveloping, talking about how we are getting folks through these major arteries, either to downtown for arts from North County to the airport, as mentioned, and to different shows and beaches. Look, we had a trolley to the beach at one time, and frankly, it was probably a terrible decision that it was removed, in my opinion. And I think we have to be talking about when we talk about housing, we talk about economic development, we talk about resources for the community, transportation has not been talked about enough, and I think we have to reinstitute and talk more about that. So Midway would be my answer for the year to that.
What changes would you like to see to the short-term vacation rental ordinance?
We, I don't think anybody, I think there are some folks that remember the litigation that went on and the time that was spent on the current ordinance. Personally, what I think we have to talk more about, not only just short-term vacation rentals, but with the city in general. If we say something or we do something, we have to make sure that we follow through on it. And the short-term vacation rental is a great example where we need to double down on enforcement to make sure that we are holding bad actors accountable. The city has the resources for code enforcement, for the police department, to ensure that we're meeting the moment as it relates to how it is that they're showing up in our neighborhoods. So for me, it's a lot about how it is that we are driving enforcement and revenue towards enforcement for those particular bad actors and platforms.
Okay, how would you create a better working relationship between DSD and the planning department and CPGs?
I think this is a great example of how it is that as the chief executive officer, right, of any business, you look across all of your departments, you're taking in feedback, not only from the community, but from your employees, and you're driving your business, right, your departments to be better collaborative and better designed to execute what the needs are of the community. What I would do as a council member is continue to show up, frankly, and be present to hear out how it is that we have an opportunity to better collaborate on decisions, drive the agendas, right, to be more transparent, to ensure that we can get the information out, right, to the public in a timely manner, and to ensure that they have the resources, right, to have staffing to go out and conduct those types of meetings to meet the moment that we're talking about.
And how do you feel about the Penny for the Arts program?
We have, frankly, it's a penny too short, and we have to do more to ensure we can get more folks, right, in this cost of living crisis that we're on, this new crisis, how we can get folks to rec centers, the libraries, right, the pools, all of those particular initiatives moving and funded so that we can get out of this constant state of crisis. Support it, sorry,
And
to be clear.
how do you feel about Measure A and the vacant fund staff?
Yeah, I've been on the record and supportive. I think that we are being this conversation about how it is that we're meeting the moment in housing. I think there's been conversation about its state of whether it will survive litigation. And you know, we've been, based on what I've seen, I think there are those opportunities, I think, to continue to find ways to create additional revenue for our city, and those are built into the ordinance.
Do I have a question from the community if they'd like to ask one? Otherwise,
Okay, I have one. Sorry, go ahead.
Nick,
It sounds like there's a lot of employees, city employees that are just frankly scared.
what's your question, Nick?
That's it.
Okay, Frank, what's your question?
Quite, you say for the homeless that things are getting better in San Diego, but the county hasn't lived up to its part of it, and the other cities in the county haven't lived up to their part. These are the very same elements of the narrative being pushed by Mayor Gloria. How does your position on homelessness differ from Gloria's? If you would.
I think that I'm telling you, we're doing more and doing better largely because of the programs that we have implemented to reduce street homelessness, but I will tell you, we are not where we need to be on homelessness. I've been very clear that no leader should go through the city council without ending our street homelessness crisis. I'm not touting the reduction of homelessness. Frankly, I think the point in time count is an artificial number that's used on a night. I can tell you that as someone who's gone out, we've done a monthly observational count. It goes up, it goes down, assuming variables. Right, I have 174 individuals that sleep with us every night in a homeless shelter at OB that I have an amazing team that supports. I can tell you that until we have no long-term folks staying in a shelter in a dirt lot, that's when we can talk about how we've achieved an end to homelessness and how we're making strides. I differentiate on the communication, I think, that's what I would use as a talk about.
Great, okay, what would be your proudest, I guess, volunteer moment in District 2?
I think I shared this. I'm really proud and honored. Not a lot of folks have the opportunity to go serve at City Hall, and I commend, frankly, those that do. It was a very challenging time for the city. The city and the government particularly not prepared to address some of our community's concerns. I learned a lot. Proud of the work that we did every day on homelessness. I will tell you, I stood in the parking lot supporting the expansion of state parking lots to ensure folks who are using our beaches, frankly, as shelter in their RVs or vehicles have a place to go. I think the more we can continue to do to show up and take those lessons learned, get folks off the street, I think it's something that I'm extremely proud of, that don't end up pushing folks here to the beach communities.
And what's your favorite part of District 2?
I'll reiterate it again. Kellogg Beach is my favorite, but I do love El Venice Pizza, sorry. It's my favorite. But I do. Good. Thank you all for the time. I appreciate your volunteer work and look forward to being in touch. Thanks so much.
We'll start your 2 minutes.
Okay.
Go.
Ready? My name is Mike Ricky. I'm a Claremont native. I grew up here, hanging out at the beach, just being a regular guy. That's who I am. I got into this not because I wanted to get into politics, but because I was upset with what was going on. So my background is I'm a merchant marine officer, drove for over 20 years. I spent at sea. Really wasn't home very much. I was 8 months out of the year, I was gone at sea. Trying to retire from that, the more I've been home, I just really just upset about what's going on. And the more I talk to my neighbors, my friends, everybody's pissed off about the same thing. I was like, well, if somebody's gonna do something, might as well be me. So that's why I'm here. I'm just trying to give a voice. If people like what I'm saying, great. If you don't, there's plenty of other candidates out there. I think there's 7 of us running right now. So there's lots of options. I'm running just because I want to see something different. This is my home. This is where my family was. Bay Park, Claremont is where my family's been for multiple generations. It's where I'm raising my kids. I want to see something that my kids will be proud of. Right now, I'm not seeing anything my kids are gonna be proud of. Shoot, in 10 years, we're not gonna be proud of it. I don't think the city's really gonna exist the way it's on its trajectory. You know, in the past, they talked about, you know, the city going in bankrupt. I think we're kind of heading that direction if we don't change things now.
Given the strong form of government, how do you see your role as a city council person?
So whether it's the strong mayor or the city manager system, I think it's fairly similar. You know, the city council needs to be actively involved in the day-to-day operations. Sitting back and just saying, well, it's somebody else's problem is how things go bad. You know, that's what happened. We changed from a city manager to a strong mayor system because bad things were happening. And we were supposed to be in this new system, things were gonna change. Nothing's changed. So the city council needs to be actively involved in our day-to-day operations with what's actually going on. And if the budget's not being held to, then they need to be making those adjustments right. If we have the mayor making plans that are not actually being positive, then they need to step in and actually be forceful to demand that we actually make those changes that we made.
So what changes would you make to the proposed budget by the mayor?
So, yes, the budget. There's a lot of things in there I dislike. Number one is the cuts to the arts. The idea of cutting parks and recs or any of that type of stuff, I'm vehemently opposed to. I really do believe that we need to be cutting more in the city operations. We have a big bloat and a lot of waste going on. We need to really look at what's going on and see where we can make those cuts. And there's a lot of systems that just don't work. If throwing more money at it isn't gonna solve the problem, then why are we doing that?
What do you see as the biggest budget priority for Ocean Beach?
Everybody's pretty much hit on it, the pier. The pier is a big one. As a kid, I grew up going out there and going fishing and hanging out. That was great. I didn't realize exactly how much it affected the business this year until I went down. I was talking with the Main Street Association not too long ago, and they explained how much they directly saw as the pier was closed and their revenues. And that's a big one just for keeping the lights on. If the businesses aren't working, jobs aren't there, we need to fix that. Just on a base revenue system, not just on a nicety of, hey, we should have a nice school pier.
What changes would you like to see to the short-term vacation ordinance?
So changes to that one are kind of the same. I like to see on a lot of city government is it should be more community based. We need more community involvement. And like one of the other ones said, you know, we have a 1% cap across the whole city. That's not particular to any individual community. It really needs to be community based and community needs to be driving that. And if there's going to be other areas where we have maybe a 1% cap across every community and some communities decide they want more, that should be up to the community, not to the city hall to just blanketly put rubber stamps on everything.
What would be your biggest priorities in addressing the homelessness crisis?
So the homelessness crisis is a multi-pronged issue, right? It's not just people don't have a place to live, it's they don't have the mental health that they need, they don't have the drug support they need, and they don't have the jobs, right? You need jobs for people to actually be able to get off the street. And there needs to be a pathway for people to get back in. You know, we're not gonna hire somebody that's just coming off the street. Anybody that owns a business or hires employees knows you wanna have some sort of background. So we need to have some way to actually rehabilitate people, right? If you've been living on the street for 5 years, you need to be able to get back into society regularly and show up to a job and do things. We need to find ways to make that work. Whether that's directly with the government, which should, I don't believe directly be the city. I think that's a whole county issue that we need to be, you know, holistically looking at. But also bringing in other nonprofits. There's some really good ideas we need to be dealing with. The system we have doesn't work. And if somebody else, whether it is a government entity or a nonprofit, has a better idea, we need to be looking at those better ideas.
How would you create a better working relationship between DSD, the planning department, and CPGs?
So I really do like the planning groups. I think been neutered, and that's a big problem. If you guys have the ability to have a voice that is direct to the residents in the neighborhood, it's not somebody going back to City Hall between 9 and 5 to give a comment on something. People can show up here and have direct interactions, and that can be driven right back to the city departments. And I really do believe that community-based governance is important, and having planning groups, which are elected by the local people in that neighborhood, really have that effect, and I think that's really important.
What is your position on Measure A and the vacant homes?
Against it. Couple reasons. One straight off the bat, giving the city government more money just to give them more money is a bad idea. And I don't like any taxes like that until they can prove that they can actually manage what they have. Trying to just say, well, we're just gonna tax more and that's gonna solve problems is bad. But beyond that, the idea of taxing people because they own a home and it's empty. And what are we gonna keep taxing? Just everything that somebody has because we don't like it. You have an extra car, we're gonna tax the extra car because you're not driving it. It's ridiculous.
Great. What public transportation projects would you prioritize, knowing that SB 79 would increase that state around?
So I do not have any specific projects that I would see being prioritized. It's been talked about that the MTS is not a city organization, so we can input, but we can't directly change that. But all of these phantom projects that we have, that all of our developments are based off of. We have many development programs that are set up throughout the city that are based off of a phantom bus line. These bus lines don't happen. So we really be looking at projects that have already been developed that were based off of these transportation infrastructures that have not been realized. We need to be making sure those things are realized before we start going and making any more development plans.
And how do you feel about the Penny for the Arts program?
There needs to be more involved with that, but honestly, I haven't looked into that.
And what is your proudest moment that you've volunteer wise in District 2? What are you most proud of in your community service for our district?
Raising my kids. So yeah, like I said, I grew up there and I've been raising my 4 kids in the Claremont area and just being involved. You know, as I wasn't the best student, I was just a knucklehead growing up in Claremont, but being more involved. And that's where I'm like, is just dealing with the neighborhood and the communities, you know, the sports and stuff like that.
Does anyone want to ask a question from the public? Yeah, go for it.
Balboa Park, paid parking was big in the news. What's your opinion on paid parking at our public beaches?
Same thing with Balboa Park, ridiculous. I was afraid that it's just gonna continue on. The next thing they were gonna wanna do is paid parking at the municipal parks. You know, I don't have to pay the park to come hang out over here and put my kids on the swing. So any of that type of stuff, I think it's ridiculous. It's not gonna help the situation.
Anyone else have a question? Still
I got questions halted.
Bring 'em on.
What are your thoughts on housing first initiatives for solving or helping the homeless in this crisis?
I don't think it solves the problem. We're seeing that over in my area in Claremont, where they decided we're gonna build ADUs, we've built condos, we have a lot of things sitting vacant right now. So there's a big issue with that. We also have another issue that's not just a city issue, but we have a state issue that deals with rentals and landlords and the way we've been changing laws over the last few years. That's made it more difficult for landlords to deal with tenants, which has made them more just kind of standoffish in certain areas. And we need to really be looking at that, not just on a local level, but also petitioning the state to make things look easier so that we can deal with those issues.
Midway Rising? Position at Midway Rising?
Don't like it. Yeah, there's development that can be, you know, redeveloped, but the idea that we're just going to redevelop it and magically people are gonna be able to get in and out and it's gonna be better for everybody is ridiculous. Again, I grew up here, you know, going down to baseball games, going down to soccer games, you know, we deal with the traffic at those times. If you go down to Rosecrans trying to go out to the Navy base, you know, traffic time is traffic time. Well, we're gonna do more and there's more traffic and it's magically people are just going to teleport around and tell Star Trek, you know, develops a teleporter that we have in real life. I think that stuff is pipe dreams.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a current signature effort going on to either repeal or reboot the trash fee. What are your opinions on that? That could be potentially going to council at some point.
So, yeah, the trash fee, it was disingenuous. They lied to people straight up the bat, and we're seeing it right now. There's a report I just read talking about how people are trying to use smaller trash cans, and so the revenue that they're planning is actually down from their expectations. Which means the fees are just gonna go up. So we really need to stop this insanity. If the city can't afford it, then we need to be looking at outside sources to be dealing with the issue.
What's your favorite part of District Two?
Well, Claremont. I've traveled around the world and I always go back to Claremont because that's home. But I mean, all of District Two, like I said, I grew up, going down to the beach, hanging out, surfing at Mission Bay. My family goes down to Mission Bay, probably the Fiesta Island, because that's just where we would hang out. We would take the horses out there, we have fires, take the boats out, and just hang out. That's just a jewel that we have that nobody else in the world really has.
Any final questions?
What year did you take the horses there?
We had them out there last summer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate you all coming out, and I got my ballot yesterday, so everyone should be keeping their eyes out for that. They should be here by the end of the week. Okay, great. Moving on to our action item, Kevin wants 3 more people to join the project review committee. We are also taking members of the public if you're interested.
2 more, and I had one inquiry from a former board member actually that was interested in joining
Oh, who?
that as well, Denise Larson.
Oh, yeah. You wanna-
Virginia mentioned it. I don't know if we have brought it up before, not.
I'd like to.
I guess, I mean, there's nothing against having 6,
Yeah, Virginia said she's fine.
we just need 4 for 4. You promise to
Show up.
show up, and that can be virtually, it's not a big deal, but it counts.
Okay. So anyone opposed to appointing Chelsea, Virginia and Denise Larson as well as the project review committee?
Wait, do I heard the thing if I joined and that's 6?
If you want 5.
If you want, I don't need.
I'd say deal. I would like for you to attend.
Can I attend still?
If you're interested.
Okay,
Yeah.
There's plenty of oxygen
okay,
for speaking at those meetings, so.
okay.
Okay. So motion to
Virginia
approve
and
appointing Virginia and Denise.
I,
Okay.
there's second, I'll first.
Yeah, great. Okay, I don't really have any updates for anyone. Does anyone have anything else? Tracy wanted to let you know that okay, so the treasurer's report. We have $773.32 in our bank account.
And how about the Padres already?
Any other updates? Any other liaison reports, Chris?
Commission for Arts and Culture, if we haven't heard already, just a completely unprecedented, horrendous move by the mayor to wipe out all arts and culture grant funding for the city, never been done before. No other city in the country would think about doing such a $12 million completely out of the budget. And that's it, that's all the funding. 229 arts organizations across the city are not gonna get their funding if this goes through. So lots of opportunity to speak out about it. Some of the dates mentioned for the budget hearing already are key. Talk to me or just Google it. San Diego Art Matters is leading advocacy group. We had a press conference about a week and a half ago and 300 people down there and just somebody mentioned it, but you have to have some force, a little bit of look ahead foresight when you're thinking about budgeting and to eliminate a $12 million, which is a drop in the bucket for a budget reduction that will have ripple effects to the tune of many times that over the next few years is just unbelievable. So look into it if you don't know about it.
Any other liaison reports? Anything from the community foundation? No? Okay. Actually, I do have something. So the 4th of July is on a Saturday this year. Are we okay with having the July meeting and no August meeting? Does anyone have a preference?
So it'd be July.
So we meet in July and not August, yeah. It would be the weekend after the 4th.
Defer to your discretion based on.
Yeah, okay, it'll be based on that and based on, it would be the 2nd, or no, sorry, it would be, it would be the 7th of July. It'd be Tuesday, July 7th, okay, it'll be at my discretion. Anything else before we adjourn? Great. That is scheduled. Very grateful. Thank you guys, everyone for showing up. If any of your friends want to know, or we'll put the recording up. And they can watch